Alrighty, Breakneck through the Bible 2017-2018, class number 41. This week, a couple announcements. First of all, it's the Shabbos project, the Shabbat. Like it's the worldwide Shabbat project, which was started in South Africa a couple years ago, which people are challenged to keep an entire Shabbat, sundown Friday through sundown Saturday. And anyone who'd like a place to stay, please let us know. We're happy to help arrange it. If you want to come and stay the whole Shabbat, it's be a nice experience. So that's the Shabbat. Okay, as well, before we start Parshas Lech on page 55 in the Stone Chumash, I want to Daron asked me about something called what's called a heter iska. So a heter iska is a document that when one Jew lends money to another Jew, that they are not supposed to lend it with interest. Yet at the same, and it's actually fascinating. One of the reasons for that is that the Torah calls it actually like there are 7 commandments you can transgress lending somebody money with interest, lending a fellow Jew with interest, and 7 commandments is quite a large chunk, and so when you lend money to a fellow Jew, you can't charge interest. But at the same time, you could go ahead and you can do business with a fellow Jew, right? Meaning that if I wanted to go into business with you and I wanted to, I'd be the money man and you put in the sweat equity, we could do that. That's a business. That's not loaning money, even though a lot of the same common characteristics. And so what happened was, in this system worked great, and actually another thing was at the end of this sabbatical year, whenever the sabbatical year would end, people that owed money to other people, it would become at that point in time that we're no longer allowed to collect it. And so, what happened was the rabbis came along, and they began to realize that people were not lending money to fellow Jews that needed it because either they couldn't afford to, or right, they wanted to get some sort of return on their money. And so they created a document called a heter iska. Okay, Heter, heter iska, Iskah. And basically the heter iska is a way that you can, that it takes the loan, right? It takes the loan that one Jew is making to the other Jew, and they construct it as a business partnerships, right? And so therefore they're going ahead and they're creating a partnership where they're going ahead and they're it's really investing, right, in a partnership, and that way then it becomes an investment and not a loan, and therefore you can charge interest.
How does a bank deal with in Israel a mortgage?
Oh, so it's I'll tell you a mortgage loan is so very interesting. So in Israel, as far as I know, in Israel they've dealt with it, and I think all banks actually are set up using the idea of a heter iska. Now again, also with a bank it might be a little different because then it's not an individual to an individual, it's an institution to an individual, and that might be different rules. If you've been following the news, probably around 6 months ago there was a big tumult with rocket loans, Quicken Loans, rocket loans. That it turns out that some of the main principles are Jewish, and it became a problem of one Jew lending another Jew with interest, and what happened was it got to a point that they tried to work it out. They didn't want to work it out, and at the end of the day, they actually put out it was released to the Jewish world that you could no longer take loans from Quicken Loans, and I guess it made enough of an impact on their business that they ended up working it out.
But I don't understand. Is it the way the forms are worded that would make the difference where the bank or Quicken Loan can lend to a Jew? It's the way things are worded, or how do you need to apply for a mortgage, okay? You want to get a mortgage on a house.
Right.
What is it?
So
in Israel lending to somebody, or
right. So
lending to a non-Jew?
So there are a couple different ways that they can structure heter iskas. Okay. So one might be is that instead of wording it that the bank is loaning you money, and you have to pay them back in interest, they might have a document that says, by the way, this whole deal that's going through, it's not the bank is loaning you with interest. But the idea is that the bank is going in partnership with you into the house. They're putting up 80-90% of the money, and you're going ahead and you're putting in the other percent, and in return to them lending you that money, this is the amount of money they get every month. It could be something. It could be
just simply the wording, really.
It could really be the wording, which is really how it's structured. Okay. So because it's
not a true partnership, because if the house goes down in value, the bank is not going to lose. Or if it goes up in value, it's not going to profit.
So it depends. There are different types of partnership.
Right.
There are different types of partnership in different levels. So therefore, that would be the way that it is structured.
Yeah.
And so therefore, at that point in time, it's the appropriate way to do it. Right.
For me to come in.
Right. So there are different.
I can understand where two partners get into a deal together, two private partners, and we can word it where we are equity partners in one way.
Right.
But here you have formally an institution lending money.
Right. So
you're not going to call it lending. You use different words.
Right. You use different words, and so because really it's creating.
So how do I do if I want to lend somebody money, also a Jew?
Right.
That would be worded.
So again, as a business rather than as loaning money.
As a partnership, sort of like a form of a partnership. That's how it's going to be worded.
That is one way that they do it. Yes, that's one way they do it. So it's interesting. There are a couple Jewish banks here in Dallas, and so I once went to one of them and said, would there be a problem of us writing a heter iska if I wanted to borrow money from your bank? Would there be a problem? So he says, Rabbi, as long as Wall Street doesn't care, you can write whatever documents you want. and really, what happened is that they're already the big institutions already have created the way, the proper way to do it.
Really?
And what's really interesting, it's a fascinating area of Jewish law, really, to understand exactly how that area of Jewish law works. And in reality, I asked him a question. He said, "Go write a heter iska." So I said, I don't understand. I said, I'm not even understanding how this is a heter iska, and how this is even a... He says, according to one opinion it might be. He said, but generally the cure is so simple, we just tell you to write it because there's really no downside in writing it.
Wow.
And that's why they do it. I will tell you a story that personally happened with me, that is actually just an interesting story like this. But I had a friend who had a lot of credit card debt, and it's going back many years. And what happened was, I said to him, "Listen," I said, "I'm not a wealthy man." I said, "No," I said, "I'll tell you what." I said, "I'll lend you the money." I said, "But if you just give me 5%, right?" I said this money was, I said, just lend me 5%, and like life will be good. Right, and then I'm happy, and like and then that way, then you'll go from 21% to go down to 5%, and so life will be good. So he said, "Well, Rabbi, you really will do that?" I said, "Yeah." I said, I'm happy to do that, and if I can help you out, I'm happy to help you out.
Did there have to be a promissory note?
Yeah. So we drew up a promissory note. We drew up a heter iska. Right, we created such a document. Right, and then what happened was actually interesting. So I helped him bring down his payments way down. I probably saved him $1,000 a month, it was a lot of money. $2,000 saved him a lot of money.
Wow.
The truth was, it was too late, and he ended up filing for bankruptcy. And the sad part was that if it would have kept it with the credit cards, it would have been written off.
Why did he consolidate them into one that he could manage for money?
Right, and so he thought it's a long story. Instead, what happened? he ended up paying me back the money.
Okay.
Right, even though he declared bankruptcy, he ended up paying me back the money. So I
Right.
ended up hurting him more than helping him.
Oh, wow.
So like that was, I felt bad. Like
Right.
I had all the best intentions in the world, but at the end of the day, it didn't work out that way. But okay, but that's what it is. If right, but the Torah tells us we're supposed to help out our fellow Jews. Right, that's what we're supposed to do.
Wow.
Right, we're supposed to help out in the best way that we can.
Yeah.
And some people we can't do with money. It doesn't mean it's with time. It means with doing something that we can do. Right. So to go ahead and to help out.
Moral support.
Moral support, emotional support. Right. It's going ahead. It's helping out in more than more than just a
Monetary.
more than just a monetary way.
Sure.
So it's to help a lending hand, right? It's something that we should take seriously. The obligation to help out our fellow Jews.
In the old days, they used to say the road to HE double hockey sticks was paved with good intentions.
Because the
Hell.
kind,
No, you don't want
Hell,
to say it.
yeah, thank you. Yes,
the kind word and the moral or emotional support sometimes so important because it keeps the person's spirits up.
right, sure, right, and that's really something just to be careful of. Okay, so let's go now. Genesis chapter 12, verse number 1, page 55. Okay, one of the great stories in the Torah, and actually Abraham. We talked last week the birth of Abraham. We talked about Tess, and so now we'll go ahead and we'll read some of this. Michael, do you want to read?
Hashem said to Abram, "Go for yourself from your land, from your relatives, and from your father's house to the land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who curse you I will curse. And all the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you."
Right. So again, as it says, I will bless. Right. It ends off. Right. Go for yourself. Right. Go for yourself from your land, from your relatives, from your father's land to land that I will show you, and I'll make for you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. Right. It means right that you will go ahead and you will be a blessing to those that attach themselves to you. I will bless those that bless you, and him who curses you I will curse, and all the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you. Right? So here, right, God gives the famous quote, "Those that bless you shall be blessed, and those that cursed you shall be cursed."
Why is this?
I have that
And what was it?
underlined
Yeah, what's it?
in my text, but what's interesting about this is that God never tells him where he will go,
Right.
only that he will show you.
Right, he
And
doesn't
that shows Abraham's faith in God.
faith in God, and gives Abraham more credit for the
Sure.
journey. Because he doesn't know where he's going.
He doesn't know
He's
where
just
he's
saying,
going,
wherever
but he
God, wherever you
does.
take me, that's where I'm going.
going.
And by the way,
And that's interesting.
our lives are like that too.
Absolutely.
Right? We
Oh,
don't know.
absolutely.
None of us know where we're going to end up. Right?
No.
We're on a journey. We're going, and we don't know where we're going to end up. Right? And so, getting to the place of God saying,
So you
"I'm
see-
going to take you. I'm taking you.
Two very important
You're
verses.
you're in my hands."
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
This commentary, this verse has a lot of commentary.
Yes.
Why is this verse so important?
Which one? The
Oh.
verse number 3.
This
Oh.
particular verse over here. Makes a lot of.
Which verse?
The
1,
I
2, or
just
3?
read- The one I just read. The one I just read.
Okay.
The whole thing.
The whole thing.
The whole
Right. So
thing.
those that bless you shall be blessed, and those that curse you shall
it's
be.
not just a simple words. There's a lot into it.
And a lot.
Basically, in essence, it says God has your back.
And he, not only God has your back, God's
But
saying
it's
those that take care
Uh-huh.
of the Jewish people,
Right.
right? That
Will be blessed.
they will be blessed. Those that do not take care of the Jewish people, those that curse us will be cursed. And I actually have a couple great stories. I have a couple great stories that happened with this. I actually was going ahead. I had to get a new roof on my house. There was hail damage. I needed a new roof, and so they're busy doing the roof. And I walk out of my house, and I see them doing the roof, and I say to them, I say, I said, excuse me, could I ask you a question? They said, sure. They said, could I ask you a question? So I said, sure. They said, go first. I said, no, you go first. I said, okay. I said, listen. I said, I have a pipe over here. I said, do you mind just connecting it through the roof when you do it? He said, sure, not a problem. And I said, okay, can I help you? So he says, are you Jewish? I said, one thing, what gave that away? I said, I am. He says, wow. He says, you should know, right? Those that bless you shall be blessed. He says, you should know normally when we do roofs, he says, we go ahead and I have my crew of 5 people that know about roofing, and then I get 5 day laborers to do all the schlepping. He says, but I knew it was your roof, so we're doing it all by ourselves.
Oh.
And then what happened was very interesting. When he was finishing off the roof and putting the cap on the roof, he got his pregnant wife on the roof, and together they sat there going ahead and sealing the top of my roof. And that's what he said. He says, those that bless you shall be blessed. Those that cursed you shall be cursed. He wanted a blessing for helping the Jews, and he wanted a blessing for his wife. So he went ahead, he got his wife. I couldn't believe it. I said, get her off the roof. I said, she's pregnant. What are you doing on the roof?
What a cute story.
My roof did not have a fence, right? That's a classic, right? Those that bless you shall be blessed, and it's fascinating. You take a look at you take a look at America. America's been a country that really has had world dominance for a very long time, and normally empires don't last this long. And one of the reasons that they do is because they take such good care of the Jews, both the ones that are in here, the ones that are in Israel, right? That you have this blessing. Those that bless you shall be blessed. It's a very powerful blessing from God.
Very.
And we Jews are kind of like, we're almost apologetic about it. We don't want to tell anybody that, if you bless us, you're going to be blessed. Like, it makes us feel uncomfortable, right? But they understand that, and it's really something that is something that is very important and very.
I know some Christians that don't know that motto. It got cursed terribly after I left.
It's interesting.
They mistreated me so badly in a time when I was coming from Pennsylvania to Texas, and I had nowhere to stay. I wasn't settled. I was kind of homeless. And what I thought was a nice Christian family turned out to really curse me. And that person today, I can't begin to tell you the sort of
you should know. I had another story. I had a very interesting case. I had a student. This also goes back many, many years. I had a student that was actually graduated law school in UT. And what happened was, he graduated law. He graduated top of his class, and he was here interviewing at a law firm downtown here in Dallas. And what happened was, so it was his final interview. He was finally meeting with the managing partners. And what happened was, at that interview, he says, by the way, I want to let you know that I'm a religious Jew, and I can't work, sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. So they said, we understand that. That's very good, but I'm sure if it's very important, I'm sure you'll be there. And he says, no, you don't understand. I won't be there. In life and death, I can be there, but otherwise, I cannot be there. And he thought at that point in time, he lost the job. One of the managing partners turned to the other managing partners and says, "You remember Genesis 12:3?"
Really?
That's what he said. Genesis 12:3. That's what he said.
Yeah.
They hired him. And now the epilogue to that story, this story is many years old. What happened was this guy ended up going. He worked for about years, and then he moved on. And what happened was, this managing partner that hired him got a case to sue somebody, and they were only doing defense work. So he suggested that this person go speak to this Jewish guy, and he actually went to this Jewish guy, and the Jewish guy won this big case and this big case against his other company, and this managing partner got a third of what he took in, and so I thought those that bless you shall be blessed, right? And so it just kind of like just interesting, right? That God gives that blessing, right? Those that bless you shall be blessed, and that's really what
Does this
my
not
God
apply
God's
between Jew and Jew?
what?
Does that also apply between a Jewish
Of course.
person and another Jewish
Sure.
person? If a Jewish person is cursing you, does God handle that person
Sure.
in the same way he would hurt?
Absolutely, yeah, sure.
So he's fair.
God is MS. He's right. Everything he does is exact, right? It's
I
very
love
kind.
that.
Yes.
That speaks to my
So-
heart.
Let's say you're a rich man, a Jewish rich man, and this Muslim guy or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
non-Jewish,
Not Jew,
hates you.
right?
He's got the evil eye on you. He's got
Mhm.
all this black magical, whatever he does
Yeah,
to curse you.
right.
What do? You just don't do nothing about it. Let Hashem take care of it.
You know what? There's nothing. You have to do nothing. God will take care of it. Pray to God. God, please take care of it. I want to tell you something. It's actually interesting.
We say that in prayer every day.
We say it in prayer. We say it in prayer every day.
Shmoneh Esrei, right?
In Shmoneh Esrei, it's actually the 7th blessing of Shmoneh Esrei, which is a blessing I'm trying to work on this year. That was my Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur resolution was to work on the fourth of the middle blessing. So the 7th blessing of Shmoneh Esrei, that it says Re'ena v'Onyenu, right? We're able to see God in our affliction. V'riva rivenu. And Rivenu is our, it's really, and Rivenu are our conflicts, but we ask God, Riva Rivenu, God, you, right, should go ahead and should argue my instead of me fight my fights. I think Riva Rivenu means, God, and please you fight my fights. And God, please redeem us speedily for your great name. Right? Because you, God, are a strong redeemer. Baruch atah Hashem, God bless you, the source of all blessings. Go, Yisrael, who redeems Israel.
And also, Hafir Atzatan, Bekalkel.
Right. When we said it then.
Bad thoughts they have, or
And so
us.
it's fascinating because now it's been amazing because like instead of getting angry at people who are bothering me, I just say, Re'evri anenu, God, take a look. This is what's happening. V'riva rivenu, God, please go ahead and take care of this problem for me. God, I'm done. But v'riva rivenu, God, please go ahead and take care of it. And it's amazing. Like, by the time I daven the next time, I don't even remember what I was bothered about because God took care of it. And by the way, it's interesting because we go ahead and we have this discussion. Right, we have this discussion of going ahead. If you want to sit it, there's one in my room, right next to my seat. You'll see there's a small thin one on top of the ones that are like this. There's a pocket sized one. But it's interesting. But we say every name I say this blessing, and by the way, this blessing has not only in the physical realm, but also in the spiritual realm. In our spirit, in the things that we are spiritually going ahead and that are spiritually struggling with, we say, God, see, right, in our afflictions, right, God, please help me in those areas, right? If I'm struggling in speaking lashon hara, right, so we say, God, right, we're speaking bad about other people. We say, God, please, God, please think of our afflictions, and God, and help us, right, and take care of those afflictions. Right? To go ahead to do it. 1 second. Yeah.
But if you don't defend yourself and let God handle everything, you become nothing but a victim of everything.
Why are you a victim? There's no victim at all. God is in charge. Now, it doesn't mean, by the way, if somebody comes over and punches you, right? I'm not telling you not to go ahead and to protect yourself or to punch other guys' lights out. Right? I'm saying, but understand, you certainly defend yourself, right? But understand, ask God to help you, right? To help you follow through and to help you go ahead and to take the affliction and to finish it off, right? Don't leave it, right? Don't worry about yourself, right? Don't fight it by yourself. Understand you're not fighting by yourself. God is there fighting it for you, right? And like that. That's really what assign it over to God. Like why do you have to fight? Why do you have to fight? Why do you have to be? Why do you have to be? Like all worried and really taking the time for doing the things that you need to be doing, and instead focusing on fighting all these other fights.
But if somebody is ruining your reputation,
Right.
you have to defend
Yeah.
your name, your reputation,
Right.
Sometimes you can't.
your career, everything.
Right.
So you need to stand up and speak about it.
Sure.
You can't just ignore it and say, "Oh, God will already settle it."
Right.
Right. So
Correct.
you do have to take an active role here.
Right. Sure. There's certainly, but even when you do take an active role, understand that God is ultimately the one that's going to resolve it.
Exactly.
Right? It means you have to do your hishtadlus, your effort, but understand that God is the one who decides all these things.
If somebody writes something bad about you, and the newspaper allows you to send in a column or something
Right.
to respond,
Right.
you probably are obligated.
You're obligated to do that, but understand, but who's going to make it in the hearts of the readers to listen to your defense or their thing?
God.
Right, God. Right, so as we say, God, you're in charge, and sign it over to Him. You still have to do your effort, right? This is always we talk about all the time, right? Trusting God does not relieve us, does not relieve us of the effort of putting in the effort of what we need to put in. Yeah.
Robert, last time you said when you get punched with someone, we discussed that last week or maybe a couple weeks ago. That you deserve it. That's why you get punched.
Right.
No,
Right.
not
Right.
necessarily. I disagree.
Okay, it's okay.
That's what the rabbi.
That's
told
what the
us.
rabbi said.
Well,
Okay, that's not what the rabbi said. That's what the Talmud says. I know what you want from me. You can, I'm just reporting live. I'm just telling
I
you.
may not
You know.
understand.
Right. Yeah, I'm not doing this stuff. Like it's too good to make up.
God rules our life.
Sure.
Right when he said he was talking about the reputation.
Right.
There's nothing without God. Since we live our life ruled by God.
Right.
So whatever happened to us,
Correct.
in your face, you don't deserve it. It won't happen for according to
Correct.
your explanation.
But you still right. Yeah, but ask God to help you. There's nothing wrong with asking God to help,
It's in
right?
the Bible, we
Right.
say David has a
And
problem,
give it over to God, right? Like don't right means that a lot of times we get so it's a great Yiddish word. I don't know. We get so hyped up. We get like so worked up over something, right? And we kind of get obsessed with it, and we have a hard time letting go. Ungehitzt. Wait.
Ungayut, when we are suffering, struggling.
Something struggling, but really the idea is just let it go and give it over to God. Why do we need to be carrying it around?
Right.
We have way too many important things to do. Like to play tennis, like we got things to do, Frankie.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, like instead of worrying about, right, we got things to do, right? You got to just be able to move on and just to
But
right.
their situation when there is simply evil people who do evil things to others, even though nothing happens without God's will. But I mean, is there situations when this person really was done wrong by evil person without God designing that?
No,
Nothing.
nothing.
I gotta glorify the name of God. Hey, do you know how many opposition that I have in a high level? And people come to you and say, who are you? What do you worship? I say, you deal with me or you deal with God. I don't have nothing. That's what it is. Once you trust David is our good example. He went through a headache struggle, but what he said, he praised God. We are sinner. We are not perfect. God forgive us. Whatever happened to me, I ask myself what I did. Why happened? God forgive me, guide me, and save me. But when you say that, okay, somebody
Okay,
can
let's take another example. A good kid crosses the street and gets hit by the car.
Yeah.
Wonderful child.
Yes.
Wonderful child gets
Sure.
hit by the car.
Yeah.
How you will explain that?
God's in
God
charge.
designed. God's in charge.
Yeah.
So I mean, so the kid was punished.
Not punish. The punish is the wrong word.
Okay, so
The child, it needed to happen for whatever reason, and God knows the reason.
so the same with the punch and the same with everything else.
Right.
So people thought that they didn't deserve to be punched, but if
Obviously,
they
they did.
obviously they doesn't mean when they got punched, they cannot punch back.
It's the sins of
No,
the
no, no,
father.
no, whatever.
That's a good question.
Right. So the answer is you have to stop somebody from beating you up. That you can do. You have to defend yourself.
But you deserve to be punched. You just
Right, correct.
So-
Right, but that person's not allowed to do it for you. That person is
So who's
evil
supposed
for
to
doing
punch
it to you.
Who's supposed to punch
The
you?
answer is you could walk into a wall yourself. You're right. God doesn't need somebody to deliver it. Right? Right? You ever walk into a wall at night? You get up. You go. You know. You have to go. It's dark, and you just bam. You smack into a wall or something like that. You got punched. You could do it
Okay,
yourself.
so if somebody, so let's let us start. with
Right.
that.
You leave the cabinet door open, and you pick your head up, and you.
So
Right.
if somebody punches somebody, and obviously this person was deserving of
Right.
punching, even though that is out of the blue,
Right.
he still can defend himself.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Because the person who does it, you're not allowed to hit somebody else. So why are you doing that?
Well, as an instrument of God's will.
Yeah. Thank you.
As
Right.
an instrument of God's
Right,
will.
right.
By your explanation, he was an instrument of God's
He
will.
was, but God told people now to go hitting people, right? So you're not allowed to hit somebody else.
Well,
But if
and
it happened because.
So at the end of the day, you had a reason why it happened.
But you can punch back. You can defend
Yes,
yourself.
absolutely, yes. Joyce.
But aren't we forgetting about free will? That humans have free will and that they don't always act in the way that God would
Wants
have
it,
them
right?
act?
Correct. But
So-
ultimately, God makes it. If He knows that person's going to fail in their free will, He makes it that the recipient of it needed whatever was going to happen. Right, and that's how God. Only God could
Yeah.
orchestrate such a thing.
That's a very harmonious explanation, which is very good. That everything is God's will.
Yeah.
Nothing happens
Right.
without God's will.
Right.
People think that
Boris,
there's
you know that, right?
Right. Wait. Yeah, Norm.
It's still not a good idea to roll up in your wheelchair wearing a MAGA hat if there's an antiphon.
Right.
You
But
can't put
again,
yourself in a
you
danger.
don't right. Don't put yourself right. Don't put yourself into a. Don't put yourself into a situation, right. Don't put yourself into a situation that is dangerous.
It's hubris.
Well, the Talmud says. The Talmud asks the question. The Talmud says if everything comes from God, he says. So why does the Talmud say you shouldn't walk near a leaning wall?
Right.
The Talmud says to go walk near a leaning wall, right? Because if everything comes from God, it won't fall unless you're supposed to have it fall. So yet the Talmud says you're not supposed to walk near a leaning wall. So why is that if God's in charge? So
you really
so the answer is, the Talmud says, the answer is because the answer is because when you walk near a leaning wall, what happens is you cause them in heaven to sit down and to judge and to judge you whether you deserve to have something bad happen to you.
because you don't
So-
care about your safety.
No, because when you go into a dangerous, when you go into a dangerous situation, right? When you go into a dangerous situation, right? What happens is you're causing yourself in heaven that they should sit down and judge you whether you deserve to have something bad to happen to you, and you never want to put yourself in the situation where they're going to judge you in heaven. And we always try to avert, going to court, right? They got to.
So
We want to defer the trial.
Right, defer the trial, push it off.
one must behave sensibly. So
Right, so yeah, exactly.
You have to
It's
be
like the
careful.
range officer in the
But
military, he never
sometimes-
gets in front of the bullets.
Right.
Yeah, but sometimes there is a saying: life likes the brave ones.
It's interesting, right?
If you cannot take chances, reasonable chances, you cannot be courageous.
Right.
Courageous, bravery, whatever you call.
Right.
There is a saying that's the life loves is people who can take
Right,
courage and bravery.
but at the end of the day, God is the one who's in charge. That's what you got to know. Yeah.
Okay, so from this pasuk on, we get a chance to understand Abraham.
Yes.
Basically, the world starts understanding Abraham, and the three major religions believe in the same pasuk. They believe in the same verse. They understand the same verse.
Yeah.
And there are people who come from Bnei Abraham that they claim that they come straight from Bnei Abraham.
Right.
Does that mean that I'm equal with these people?
No.
Can I marry these people? Can I mingle with these people?
No.
Can I listen to these people? Can I get along with these people?
Okay, so the answer is like this.
You can punch them.
The answer is that at the end of the day, right, we are the Jews. The Jewish people have a unique relationship with God.
Yes.
Other people might be related to us, right, through the DNA, right, through DNA channels. But at the end of the day, they did not become part of the Jewish people.
So this verse is for me.
This is for Jews and me, because I'm Jewish too. Okay, so it's for all Jews. This verse is meant for all Jews. That this is what it's about, right? That God goes ahead and God is saying, right? God is saying that those that bless you shall be blessed; those that curse you shall be cursed, right?
Well, actually, it's not just for Jews. It's for non-Jews.
That's for non-Jews too. Yeah. It's for the world.
It's telling them,
Take care of the Jews.
and you'll be taking.
Right, and it's very fascinating. And one of the reasons is because people can't fight God. So they do the next best thing, which is to fight his chosen people. Okay, and that's right. And so therefore, when they're starting up with us, they're really fighting God.
Yeah.
And right, and so God says, right, because you're my people, right, those that bless you shall be blessed, and those that curse you shall be cursed. Right? And that's really the job of the non-Jews in the world, is to help the Jewish people be able to serve God better. Right? That's their job in this world. Right? The whole world is supposed to come to a place of creating a place of godliness in this world.
So when we get to the
How did we get on this?
when we get to the part that
The
Eliyahu
verse.
It's from that verse.
Hanavi comes out,
Yeah.
all these people are going to wake up,
Yeah.
and they're going to have followers. Who's their followers?
Who's the followers?
All the leaders. You mean.
What I mean, all the nations of the world are going to recognize that we, the Jews, are God's chosen
But
people.
am I ever going to see Abraham?
Yeah, sure. Revival of the dead. Right?
What's that mean in Hebrew?
Revival of the dead.
Oh, revival of the dead.
When the dead will come back to life.
So God will revive the dead.
Yes.
Right.
In the world to
And
come.
how do we know there's going to be revival of the dead?
In the world to come.
No, in this world.
In this world.
Sure.
Yeah, when the
It
Messiah
says,
comes.
And right after the Messiah comes. Sometime after the Messiah comes, the revival of the dead will happen.
Yes.
Right? And then we're going to get to meet Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, sure.
And what is the next world?
Sarah, Rebecca. What? Now, if the Messiah doesn't come before we leave this world, right, and we go on to the next
We'll
world,
be a part of
then
it.
hopefully we'll merit to get to heaven, and hopefully then we'll get the chance to get Abraham to autograph our baseball for
So
us.
the world to come. In the world to come, it means, Rabbi Epstein, in the world to come, it means where?
The world to come?
Yes. During Messiah.
No. The world to come is a spiritual place.
Spiritual.
A spiritual place.
So,
The revival of the dead, or the messianic era, is in this world.
Yes.
and the world to come
Is the world to come is a spiritual world.
when the
We-
people are passing away.
Yes.
What? Yeah, and so, but
Yes.
what's interesting is that you could go ahead, and that right in you have right you have this world. Okay, you have this world is once the Messiah comes. After the Messiah comes, and at some point after that, the revival of the dead happens. Discussion exactly how soon after the Messiah comes. Then you have the revival of the dead. Into disagreement among the sages when it comes. And so then at that point in time, then it goes ahead, and you have the revival of the dead, then they'll come back. How do we know the revival of the dead from the Torah? So it's actually, we say it twice a day. Right? One of the places we say it is twice a day in the Shema. Okay? We end off the second paragraph of the Shema. And how do we end off the second paragraph of the Shema? It says as follows: L'man yirbu yimechem, right? In order to make your days bending, right? Which comes from the right. It comes Deuteronomy, right? Deuteronomy 11. Hang on a second, right? Here it is. Excuse me, Deuteronomy 11. Yeah, Deuteronomy 11. You can just turn your Chumash to page 997. Okay, page 997. It's Deuteronomy chapter 11. Chapter 11, verse 21. Okay, and you can actually start from verse 18. Right? It says, right on page 997, it says, you shall place these words of mine upon your heart and upon your soul. You shall bind them for a sign upon your arm, and let them be an ornament between your eyes. You shall teach them to your children to discuss them, while you sit in your home, while you walk in the way, when you retire, and when you arise, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. Verse 21 says, in order to prolong your days and days of your children upon the land that Hashem has sworn to your forefathers to give them, like the days of the heavens over the earth. Right, so what does the verse say? Again, in order to prolong your days and the days of your children upon the land that Hashem has sworn to your forefathers to give them, like the days of the heavens on the earth. Okay, so where does it talk about the revival of the dead? So it says, right? No. In order to prolong your days, right? That means you will hear someone saying the Shema, and the days of your children, and upon the land that Hashem has sworn to your forefathers. Who are the forefathers? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. To give them. To give who's the them?
So them, Abraham, Isaac, and
To be Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
And since they're not around, right?
They're not around, right? Because remember when Moshe wrote this down, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were long dead. So how is God going to give Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob the land if they're dead already? Right? So you see that, right, that they're going to have to come back, right? Like the heavens on the earth. So here is
that explains
right.
And what does it mean that the end? Kimei Hashamayim Haaretz. What is that relating to?
Like the days of the heavens on the earth, right?
Meaning the number of days, like the time period.
Yeah. So in order to prolong your days and the days of your children, right?
So you live like.
Or for a long time. It means like a long time. Right.
So it would be like a 6,000 year.
Right, or just a long time.
A long time.
Yes.
Yeah, so Sarah was his niece, wasn't it?
Sarah was Abraham's niece, yeah.
From which brother? Haran?
What? Sarah was was Haran.
Haran's daughter.
Right. What?
I always wondered about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Could never figure that out.
Excuse me. They were right. Haran's daughter.
Haran's daughter.
Haran, yeah.
Yeah. So that's his niece. He married his niece.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
By the way, Rabbi.
Yeah.
Is it mentioned anywhere the name of Abraham's mother? Only the father Terach is mentioned.
Yeah, Terach is mentioned. Abraham's mother. Oh gosh, I just saw it and I said I don't want to forget it. I said I'm not going to forget it because I read it. Abraham's mother's name. Yeah. I can't Google it. It's on Facebook Live. Abraham's mother's name is. Oh gosh. It's a funny name. Not a name that we really use now. No. That's her. Was his wife. His mother's name was. What? No, I don't think so.
Nowhere is it mentioned
in the Chumash. It's not, right?
It's a midrash from the midrashim.
Yeah. The Talmud says. What?
Amatlai.
What? Okay, went off. Okay, I have to go take a look. You know what? I'll tell you in a second. Hold on a second. Abraham's mother. What?
Baba Batra.
What?
Baba Batra.
Baba.
Samech Aleph. Tzadi Aleph.
Okay.
במסורת שמות של בן
All right. What did it say? What did it say?
עמייה דאברהם, אמתלי בת קרנבו.
Amatlai Bas
Can you
Carnival.
spell that?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. AMATHLAH.
Okay, that's okay.
Right.
AMA what?
I lost.
TH. AMATHLAAA. Thank you, Brian. Yeah. Yeah. Amatla Bas Kanai. Because you're right, Frankie.
Okay.
Alrighty. Hey, you're right. I gotta tell you.
Matzlabas.
Kanai.
Kanai.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Verse number 4. Okay.
Abram went.
Yes, Abram went.
Well, can I ask you, why do we always say next year in Jerusalem? I thought that was the whole deal.
No, next in Jerusalem means next in the Messiah should come. They want to go back to God.
Okay.
They want to go back to the Messianic era. Okay.
The other meeting is not like Gilgul Neshamot. It's not the same.
They're not. Well, no, it's not the same. No.
So if God forbid a young child
Right.
dies,
Right.
So
he's
Lot
100% sure that he was a Gilgul from something. And he's, I mean, a baby.
Yeah.
It must be a Gilgul
Yes.
from. It has to be.
I don't know. It has to be. I mean, obviously the baby has done nothing wrong.
Right.
So therefore, why? So then, why did it happen? So there are different reasons that are given, but yeah.
I don't understand fully all that. It might be too complicated to understand the reason and why. Maybe baby was just the way God was trying to show.
Well, one thing clearly, the baby didn't sin. That we know. So now, a baby could die either for the sins of its parents, right, or it could. Right, it's a Gilgul. It's a reincarnation and had to die. Right, those are the two reasons. Right, but it's not a mistake.
Right.
Right. That, the one thing we know is not a mistake.
It's
Right.
not. It's planned by God, so nothing you can do.
Right.
I mean, who is your daddy? That's me.
Right.
God is ruling, so
Right.
we just need to accept it, and then it's the part of the humiliation, and it's a God unitary.
It's the way of the world. That's what it is. Norm.
So was Lot then the brother of Sarah?
Yes. So it's Avram's nephew.
Wow, from the same father.
Same father. And
Amazing.
I think same mother too from Sarah. Okay, verse number 4.
I have one question.
Yeah. Let's try
This
it.
is so good. Okay, you just explained briefly that our Jewish mission in the world
Right.
is to worship God. But more, remember you told us at your table last the Shabbat last time. Our mission is to draw people close to God.
Right.
Yeah, and then you urge us to, take the Torah to people.
Right. Correct.
So, really confirming in the passage that he said, through you, the whole universe will know that I am a God. So, our job is to let him know.
Correct. It's to teach the world.
Teach
Yeah.
the world.
When are we going to go out and teach the world? When the Messiah comes.
Exactly.
What's our job till the Messiah comes?
To learn from a rabbi.
What? To learn that we can become good teachers.
Yes.
Right? Because once we become good teachers, then the Messiah can come.
My answer, so he's the
Last question. Go ahead.
And stop
Am I-
saying Lashon
am I-
Hara.
Am I a channel of Abraham? And let's say if Abraham had DNA, would I have the same DNA?
You will have, yes. Yes.
That's how I know I'm Jewish.
Right?
It's from my DNA.
Oh, yeah?
It's,
You know?
it's back to Abraham? You traced yourself back to Abraham?
Not quite that far.
Good Lord.
So,
Yeah.
what happened to Abraham's body? Did they-
Abraham's buried in the cave of Machpelah.
But it was actual body, he didn't go to heaven?
I don't know.
No, he got buried. His body got buried.
Moshe went to
The
heaven.
body was buried with soul.
Right.
Moshe went to heaven.
No, Moshe's soul went to heaven. His body is buried.
Where?
Where we don't
I
know.
liked it.
Somewhere in Jordan.
On the mountain.
Right, a mountain of hope. opposite the Jordan. Opposite Jordan River. But Hashem hid it. Hashem didn't want anyone to know what it is. What? The cave of Machpelah is in Hebron, right? And in right.
Can we go there?
You can go there. You have to be careful. You want to be careful. My cousin actually lives like a couple hundred yards from the cave of Machpelah. Yeah. He lives in. It's not for the faint of heart. Where he lives.
So he wears a sidearm.
He doesn't. He doesn't. No, it's crazy. Yeah. No, but he's. Alrighty, verse number 4. No, he lives in Hebron proper. Yeah. Okay, verse number 4. Go ahead.
So Abram went as Hashem had spoken to him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. Abram took his wife Sarai and Lot his brother's son, and all their wealth that they had amassed, and all the souls they had made in Haran. And they left to go to the land of Canaan, and they came to the land of Canaan.
Okay, stop. Right? And the souls they had made in Haran. What is
the friends they made there?
What is the souls that they made in Haran?
Those were the friends that they made along the way and brought with them.
The friends?
Their cattle, their friends, their people, their servants, their manservants, all the people that in their circle.
But why is it called the souls they had made if it's people, if it's friends?
Those are the people he converted to.
So the souls they had made. Okay, it's not just friends. It was the people that he got to understand about monotheism.
Got it.
Okay, right? It means that Abraham was teaching the world, right, about learning to be monotheistic, right? And learning to be, right, learning to serve one God.
Right.
And so what's interesting is that who made the souls?
Who made them?
Yeah.
God.
So why does the Torah say that these are the souls that Abraham made?
Well, because God was working. Abraham was an instrument of God.
Well, they were made, but they were made at a lower level, and he brought them to a different level.
He brought them back to us.
He brought them back to Hashem.
Right.
So since he brought them back to godliness,
right.
And I'm not calling Judaism because if we call them Jews, then it gets a little complicated because we really don't find a trace of them really. Right. By the time the Jews go down to Egypt, there are none of them around. Yeah. Right. So therefore, what would happen to them? So therefore, the discussion, or was it that he taught them monotheism? Right. In that sense, they're around. And so it's called that the souls that he had made, it's called that he had made the souls because he helped bring the souls to their completion. Okay? When he took it and made it so that their souls, they completed their mission in this world. Yes?
If Abraham was doing all of that, why did God bring Moshe? I mean, Abraham was capable of having the Torah. Abraham could have done everything that we don't have to have such a complicated life like that.
Okay. So tell me your exact question.
That's hard to do.
If Avram was so great, then why did God need Moses? Okay, so I want to tell you something fascinating. How does God refer to Abraham?
As beloved or servant. One or the other. Beloved or servant.
Pick.
I forget.
All right, so give somebody else a chance. Alrighty.
One was beloved and the other one was
what was Abraham called?
Beloved.
Good. You're right.
Good.
And so Abraham was called the beloved of God.
Right.
Moses was called
servant
of God.
Right.
Okay, would you rather be a beloved of God or would you rather be a servant of God?
Servant.
Okay. I'm asking everybody else.
I
don't know. Everyone else is not as convinced as you are. Okay, if you'd rather be a servant, raise your hand.
I already know I'm beloved by God, but I'd rather serve Him.
Alrighty. If you'd rather be a servant, it's a fascinating question. If you'd rather be a servant, raise your hand.
Now, what was it?
Or beloved. You'd rather be beloved by God.
Just let me say something.
In the romantic sense?
No.
Yes.
Well, I'd rather be beloved.
Beloved.
A servant also depends what kind of servant you are. A terrorist says, I'm a servant of God, and he goes and blows himself
No. So we're talking God. God says He's my servant. So God's signing off on
We're
it.
talking about Hashem.
Now it's a fascinating question. I'm not sure there's a right and a wrong. I'm just telling you. I'm just pointing out that they come with different tags. Avram is called my beloved, and why is Avram called my beloved? By the way,
I don't know, tell me.
Because
Because
he
he
walked
walked ahead of
with God.
right. So,
And the rabbi.
all right. So the answer is he's called the beloved of God because instead of worrying about his own spiritual closeness and perfection for himself,
Right.
he said, I'm going to give that up in order to help bring people back to recognize the greatness of God.
Right.
And since, right, so God says, you're my beloved, you're willing to give up on your own in order to help other people to achieve their greatness.
Right.
Right? So he's called, that's why he's called Ayram Ayhavai, my beloved. Moses was a greater prophet than Abraham. Moses came to a greater level than Abraham.
Yeah.
Right? And therefore Moses is considered the father of all prophets. To the extent that the Torah had to be given through Moses.
Right.
Because Moses had perfected himself to such a level of being a servant of God. Right? That Moses was the most humble man to ever walk the face of the earth. And so therefore at that point in time, when somebody is humble, truly humble, it does not mean that you think you're nothing. When you're truly humble, is you recognize the gifts that you have. I'm smart, I'm brilliant, I'm wealthy, whatever it is.
Right.
But you recognize that all your gifts come from God. And that all your gifts come from God, right? That is where you're at. Right? You following? Right? All the gifts come from God. Right? And so when you have all the gifts that come from God, you're not going to say, what are you taking credit for? It's all from God.
Right.
Right? So you give credit to where credit is due. And so therefore you're no better than anybody else. Because, and let's say you're smarter than them. Okay, so you feel bad when they ask stupid questions. Guess what? God didn't make them as smart as you. So what does that mean? So it's irrelevant. Right? You're following? Right? It has nothing to do with you. God made you smarter and then not as smart. So you should thank God that He made you smarter. Don't fetch when somebody else asks a stupid question. Right? Because that God gave them their limited capacity. Right? So therefore, you're not better. If somebody made you wealthier, you're no better than anybody else. Right? God made you wealthy. He chose to make you wealthy. He chose to make them not wealthy. But it has nothing to do with you. Right? To understand, it's not about you. We live in a world where we kind of like we forget about that. And we kind of like the world. We sort of like think that we're all the end all to be all, so to speak. And then it's all about us, right? And that's how we tend to look at the world. And what happens is we make terrible mistakes that way, right? And it leads to a lot of our ego issues and a lot of our fighting because I just appreciate who we are, but understand where it comes from, and that my job is for me to be the best person who I can be with what God has given me, using my capacity, whatever that capacity is, right? So you have a choice of being Abraham or Moses. You want to be beloved by God, or do you want to be Moses, God's servant?
Can we choose both?
Mike, can you pick both?
Well,
So it's very fascinating.
That's my name.
I think if
Abraham
you're a
Moshe.
servant, I think if you're truly a servant of God, you are beloved. Because God is love.
Yet God calls Abraham beloved, and he uses
God.
So is it beloved servant or my servant, my beloved? Which one do you want first? Right? And it's a fascinating question. I'm not sure there's a right or a wrong. I'm still mulling it over. I'm still like my
father was right. He gave me Abraham Moshe.
Huh?
I'm so pleased.
right, but that right, just kind of just mulling that over. It's an interesting question, but it's fascinating.
I've always known, even in my darkest days, and there have been many, that God is with me. I never,
Amen.
never not knew it.
That's great. Yeah.
So, Abraham was beloved by God. He walked with God.
Yeah.
He saw God.
Yeah.
He revolutionized the world
Yep.
to the extent that millions of people came back.
Right.
God promised him Israel.
Right.
Be the father
At
of
the
many
end of the
nations.
story, he didn't receive the Torah. Moshe did.
Right.
Moshe was the one who had the most miracles, and he didn't end up going to Israel, but Abraham did. So
Right.
what's the picture behind
Go,
the
you know,
whole-
but going into Israel. That's not the end goal.
Not relevant.
The goal is who was closest to God, right? Who reached the perfection of going ahead and serving God or not. That's what it boils
Moses
down
lived
to.
to be 120 years old, and yet the Torah tells us his eyes were not dim.
Correct.
And that speaks to me. Here a man is 120 years old, and his vision is still perfect.
Moses was
God
somebody.
buried him.
God buried
and
him.
Took him in probably still very good health.
You know, he was a very good health. But
Very
that's
good health.
but so I'm not sure the right or wrong. But yeah.
To that point, when it says that his vision was perfect, that's not necessarily just a physical characteristic. It's also a spiritual.
The spiritual
characteristic.
character, right? I mean, the Torah says that Moses had perfected himself
Yes.
in serving God. That's what's called the
Yes.
servant of God, right? That's a big deal, right? He's the servant of God, right? And that's a big deal.
It's huge.
Okay, let's continue along. Okay, verse number 6.
Abram passed into the land as far as the side of Shechem, until the plain of Moreh. The Canaanite was then in the land.
Okay, why were the Canaanites then in the land?
The land.
Because they were living there.
How was Israel before it became Israel?
What?
They were living there.
It was promised to them.
Okay, so let me explain to you very carefully. It's a very important verse. Okay, so Abram. Okay, until the plain of Moreh, the Canaanites were then in the land. Okay, this is very important. Who did God give the land of Israel to?
To the Jews.
To the Jews. When did He give it to the Jews?
Did he promise Abraham that he's gonna?
When they had the merit to get it.
He gave Abraham a promise.
Well, yeah, Abraham gets the promise. Okay, but the question is, but hold on. If Abraham gets the promise, right? Who, right? But who are we taking the land from?
The land belongs to God.
Oh, okay, so good. So one answer is the land belongs to God. He could take it from who He wants, and He could give it to who He wants. Right? Okay. But besides that, God went ahead, and who owned the entire world? God.
There is no
Okay,
owner.
there are two people in the world. There are two people that live there are two people in the world that own the entire world.
Solomon and Pharaoh of Egypt at one time. Solomon, for one, was the wisest man ever on earth.
It doesn't mean he controlled the entire earth.
Well, who did?
It means he ruled the earth, whatever that's called. He ruled the known world. So there are two people. Adam,
Uh-huh.
because he was the only person alive,
Right.
and Noah.
And Noah.
Okay, those are the two
Noah,
people.
the flood.
So what happened from Adam to Noah is not so relevant because, right, whoever owned the ownership when they all died went back to Noah. So Noah owned the entire land.
Right.
Okay. Who did Noah? Noah had how many sons?
3.
3. Okay, so everyone got a third of the world.
Shem, Ham, and
Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Right.
Right? Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Right.
Who got the land of Israel? Which of Noah's sons?
Shem.
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 Does anyone know who Shem is?
Shem is
Who?
He was the one
What do you
that
mean,
covered
who?
his father and walked out.
Melchizedek.
He's very good. Want to correct? Melchizedek was the name of the king of Jerusalem. That was Shem.
Yeah.
His real name was Shem. His title was Melchizedek, the righteous king. who got the land of Israel? Shem.
Shame.
Okay, by the way, just in case you want to know, Abraham was a great grandson of Shem. So our great grandfather got the land of Israel.
You mean Shem, the son of the
Noah, yeah,
Oh,
son of
wow.
Noah. Why is the land of Canaan, the land of Israel, called the land of Canaan? Why?
Because the Canaanites.
Because the Canaanites came and they conquered the land from Shem. Okay, okay. Then Canaan, that's named Canaan, and that's what land it's Canaan. Where do the Canaanites come from?
Where do the Canaanites come from?
Yeah,
They're descendants of
right, descendants of Ham.
Of Ham?
Yeah, of Ham. Yeah.
Aru,
The
Canaan.
Meshuggah.
Right, Ur Canaan,
The
right,
first.
right, correct,
And then end up being in Africa, right?
right.
Spell that word.
Canaan, Ham, Ham, C-H-A-M, but they write as H-A-M, like Ham, like the word
so
Ham.
it was him, huh?
Right, so that was Ham,
Okay.
right? Ham was the one,
Okay.
right, who went ahead and who here his children, whatever, Canaan, grandchildren, great grandchildren. Canaan were conquering the land of Israel from the descendants of Shem, which is our great grandfather.
So the two brothers, really.
I'm not getting this.
So there
Descendants
were
of
two
the two
brothers
brothers.
fighting, you know.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
descendants.
Over
Yeah.
same throughout history.
Man, but
Cain and
so
Abel.
when God gave the land of Israel to the Jews, all He was doing was giving it we already had given us. Noah had given it to Shem, right? We already were supposed to get it, right? But the Canaanites at this point in time were still in the land, and they still had conquered it,
No, I will. I'm gonna-
right? Until God is going to go ahead and give us the land of Israel, right? After we spend 40 years in the desert, we go back into the land of Israel to conquer it. Yes,
So the Palestinians claim they're from the Philistines, right?
right,
Crazy claim.
right.
The Philistines, were they from Ham?
The Philistines, actually it's interesting. The Philistines, okay, no, the Philistines, if you take a look, the Philistines are from, one second.
Philippi.
The Philistines are from, hold on.
From Ham.
Ham, Yafis,
They're from,
Shem.
one second.
And yeah, this is spelled J-A-P-H-E-T.
Right, the Pelishtim, right, they are, okay, listen, the Pelishtim come from the Kaslusim and Pasusim, and they come from Mitzrayim,
That's right.
okay? So they are the descendants of Ham.
Mitzrayim
The
is Ham
descendants of
also?
Ham. What?
Mitzrayim is Ham?
Yeah.
No wonder there's such
Yeah.
machines.
Canaan is Ham and Mitzrayim is
Yeah.
Ham? It's all through the...
Yeah, a lot of the
in
Middle
Toldot,
East.
in
Yeah.
Toldot.
Well, if you take a look on page 47 in the Stone Chumash, it actually has the whole genealogical charts.
Right.
47?
Right, 47, yeah. In your Stone
Oh,
Chumash.
yeah.
Wasn't
It actually has a
Rebecca
chart.
from the Philistines?
What?
Rebecca. Isn't she?
No.
No?
No, because remember, Rivka, all the matriarchs and patriarchs came from Abraham's family.
All right.
Oh, here you
So
are.
it would be Shem.
70.
Rabbi Shem, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you take a look, the Pelishtim is under 31 and 32 of the Pelishtim.
So Mitzrayim also comes from Ham.
Correct.
So we got all those machines over there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. So they go ahead and now Abraham passed, and now in verse 6 it says Abraham passed right back to 57. Abraham passed into the land as far as the side of Shechem and to the plains of Moriah. Why did he go to the side of Shechem?
Because he allowed Lot to pick where he wanted to go, either in the direction of Sodom or,
They hadn't separated yet.
oh, they hadn't separated yet. Never mind. I'm getting ahead of
What's it
myself.
say?
Amram.
Right? Why does he go to Shechem? He goes to Shechem because he sees in prophecy that the Jewish people that Jacob and his sons are going to have a big fight at Shechem. So he goes to Shechem to go ahead and to pray there for his grandchildren.
Oh, I see.
Okay? In verse number 7, Peter, want to read?
Hashem appeared to Abraham and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built an altar there to Hashem who appeared to him. From there, he relocated to the mountain east of Bethel and pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And he built there an altar to Hashem and invoked Hashem by name. And Abram journeyed on, journeying steadily toward the south.
Okay, so why do we care where Abram was going or what he was doing?
Because these are sites that are built an altar there.
Well, Bethel means the house of God.
Right.
So he pitched his tent with Bethel because he wanted to.
He did not. No, he wasn't there.
No.
With Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. He did not do it in town.
Oh.
He wasn't in Bethel and Ai. He was between Bethel and Ai. So why did he do that?
It was a portent of the future battle that took place in Joshua's time.
Is that the Temple Mount where he did his altar?
No.
That's not wrong.
No. He went and he pitched his tent in between two cities. Why? So when people would be traveling between two cities, they would have a place to go and to eat. And he would feed them. And what would happen when he would feed them?
He'd teach them Torah.
He'd teach them Torah.
Wow.
And what happens when they teach them Torah?
They become better people.
They become better people. They become monotheistic.
But he didn't stop there.
He didn't stop there, right? He didn't rest on his laurels.
No.
When he introduced everybody in that area to monotheism, what did he do? Moved
on.
on.
Why?
Because he had done his job.
We got to do more, right? We have a job to do in this world, right? Jews can't rest on the laurels. We got to keep on moving.
Right.
We got to keep on, right? We got to keep on going from one end to the other end to the other end to the other end.
So he was a great proselytizer.
Yes.
Well, not a proselytizer because he was teaching people about monotheism,
He wasn't trying to get them to convert.
he was teaching them, right, what they had to believe in anyway.
Right.
How do you know they had to believe that anyway?
The truth speaks for itself.
Because of the Adamite motion.
Very good. Okay, don't be funny. Right, because remember the laws that were given to mankind, right? There were 7 laws given to mankind called the Noahide laws.
Right.
And as Kenny pointed out, right, 6 of them were given to Adam when God created the world. Right, the 7th were given to Noah. That's why they call the 7 Noahide laws, even though they already got 6 from the time of Adam. And right, number 1 and number 2 is to know there is one God and not to do idolatry. Right, so those are number 1 and number 2. Right, and therefore at that point in time, since those are the laws that were given to the entire world, right? And those were the laws that were given to the entire world. So then,
And we get 613.
we get 613. We are so
And they
lucky.
get 7.
Of course, you want to be chosen. You got to work for it. There's not. You know, you got to put work into it. It's not. There's no easy road.
No.
Right? Do you think it's easy walking to Shul in 110-degree weather?
No.
Uphill both ways?
I know.
In the snow? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That's right. What? Right. You understand? Right. The answer is that what? The answer is that you got to go. Right? Is that we're here? We're on a mission. What does Abraham do? He's going continuously moving around. What is he doing? Teaching the world about monotheism.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead and teaching the world about monotheism. And teach the world about monotheism. Right. That's what the world is all about. Okay. Good. Verse number 10. Very important verse. Tzipi, you want to read? I can't. Okay. Alrighty, Joyce, would you like to read verse number 10?
Number 10. There was famine in the land, and Abram descended to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was severe in the land.
Okay. There was a famine in the land. What type of news is that there was famine in the land? What?
People were starving.
What are you doing?
What does it mean there was a famine in the land?
Only the land that was.
The land was dried up.
was cursed.
There was nothing to feed the people, for the land had dried up.
This was the first famine in the world. Until this time, there was no famines in the world. The first famine to take place in the world is chapter 12, verse number 10. Famine in the land.
And that's when you say in the world, but it so happened to be in That's right.
It so happened to be the first famine in the world was in the land of Israel. Just so happened, coincidentally, just when God told Abraham to go there, Abram to go there, and he's going to make him wealthy, right? He moves to Canaan with all his stuff, and he's got this big entourage. He plops down in the land of Israel. He finishes going ahead, building these altars and tents, and he's running low on water. And what happens?
There's a famine.
A famine in the land.
Wasn't that one of his 10 tests that he passed?
Ah, very good. And this was the first.
Test.
This was not the first. This was either number 4
Right.
or number 4.
That's
But
significant.
according to Rashi, this is number 4.
Okay.
Okay, right. According to Rashi, this is number 4 because you have You have the first two were with Nimrod, right? Nimrod going ahead and right chasing after him for 13 years. The second time is being thrown into the furnace. The third one was to leave his land, and the fourth one was forced to leave to escape a famine. Right? And what's his job when he went ahead to go ahead and to escape the famine? Why was this a test?
I think anybody would have wondered, wow, I've done all these things, and here you brought me to a land where there's...
It's a test because you promised me a certain...
Right, you promised me, right? Hey, this is God. This is not going according to the script. Right, the script was I show up here, I become wealthy. Right. And it says, God, this is fantastic. And what happens? He shows up there and nothing doing. A famine in the land.
I mean, he's being told,
and
boom, vayered Mitzrayim.
And without questioning God. Here we go, folks. Listen up.
He's not even asking God, what should I do?
Minute.
Or is it God telling
you?
No. He's not telling him.
He's telling him. He's making a family. He says, you're going to die if you don't leave. And what does Abraham do?
He stays.
He says, okay, time to rock and move. Keep on rocking and rolling. Got to keep on moving.
But should he have stayed there with faith and believing that actually it's going to turn around? And not get up and leave because God told him to go over there. He didn't tell him to go to Mitzrayim.
Right, so very good. So God said to where I'm going to show you.
And he showed him.
Showed him a land.
He showed him a land. He did his job. Man was doing his job. And all of a sudden a famine came. And the famine was a nice way of telling Avram, time to keep on moving. Now, what's yeah.
So when God spoke to Abraham, did Abraham hear his voice?
Sure.
He heard a voice.
Yeah.
From nowhere.
Yes, so all prophets are like that. The prophets are done. Prophets lose control of their body when they get a prophecy. Abraham also, sure.
But it's through at sleep time, right?
Yeah, dream or vision, or whatever. It depends. Dream or vision, they certainly lose.
So, but how do we know it's not that he's not being tested and he should have stayed and not go to Egypt? How do we know?
How do we know that this was a test? So that's an excellent question.
Where did the 10 tests come from anyway?
Where does the concept of the 10 tests?
Yeah.
The concept of the 10 tests is actually is in the oral law. Is in the Mishnah and Pirkei Avos, chapter 5, Mishnah 3. Okay, where it says that God tested Abraham 10 tests. Okay. Everyone agrees Abraham had 10 tests. Nobody disagrees with that. And the only question is, how exactly do you count the 10 tests?
Right. Yeah, like why is everybody that came with him also affected? Are they being tested too?
So very interesting. They are, but they're not being tested in the same way that Abraham is.
Right. What's the difference?
What's the difference? Abraham is first of all the one in charge. So for him, it's really right. He's the one that's making those decisions.
Okay.
Right, it's his watch. He's making those decisions. But sure. Right, you can imagine he takes along these people and says, listen, we go to land of Israel. God says it's going to be great. Let's go. And one says, yeah, Abraham, we're with you. Woohoo! Right, and off we go. We come marching there. We get to the land of Israel. And then all of a sudden, bam, there's no water. Yeah.
So if you hear the voice of God,
then you go to...
How are you being tested?
Today, when you hear the voice of God, go check into Green Oaks. Prophecy stopped 2,300 years ago.
Abraham heard the voice of God, and he told his disciples what he heard. Let's go.
Yes.
And they believed him.
And he was a prophet.
He was acting up in my life.
He proved to them that he was a prophet.
God,
the way you prove to become a prophet, you have to go through a certain test, certain thing, and he went through that test.
But in the Torah, he's not being called a prophet anywhere.
Sure, he is.
A prophet.
Sure.
A nurse or something.
Is there any wording that says
I
that?
have
Yeah, sure.
Where?
How?
Where?
Where?
Yeah. And what?
You really asked me that question. It's this week's
Okay, I
Torah
didn't know
portion.
what he asked.
Oh, it is?
Oh yeah.
What was the question, Rabbi?
He says, where did anybody say that Abraham's a prophet? So first of all, just right. God is talking to Abraham. God said to Abraham. Right. That's how the Torah portion starts. God spoke to Abraham. That's a prophet. But I will show you, just because I love you so much, I will show you chapter 20 in this week's Torah portion. Okay, chapter 21. Okay, what?
Vayera, right?
What's it?
No, Vayera.
Vayera, yeah, Vayera.
Oh, the air.
Good for you, Frankie.
Right? Right here it is. Right? It's actually page 93.
Yes.
Okay? 93, chapter 20, verse number 6, 7, and 8. Okay?
Well, you can't see, let me
Page
do it.
page 93, chapter 20, verse 6, 7, 8. If you can't see, you don't need the page. Okay. 6, 7, 8. So Duron, why don't you read this for us?
Verse 6.
Yeah.
Vayomer
No, okay, in English, yeah.
English.
And God said to him in the dream,
Good.
I too knew that it was in the innocence of your heart that you did this, and I too prevented you from sinning against me. That is why I did not permit you to touch me.
Medivin Avimelech takes Sarah, and God closes up all his orifices and says, you're going to die. Unless you get your orifices open, the only person who can open them up for you is Abraham. You got to go to him to pray. So now please read verse number 7 loud and clear.
But now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet.
Oh! Read that again, please. Start from the top.
Thank you,
But now
Rabbi.
return the man's wife. For
Which man? Hold on. This man's wife. Which man is it talking about? Abraham. And who's his wife?
Sarah.
Okay, for he
is
Abraham.
a prophet. And
Ah.
he will pray for you, and you will live.
Dodge a bullet.
But if you do not return her, be aware that you shall surely die.
Die.
You and all that is yours.
Wow. Powerful.
I'm black and white. What can I tell you?
Yes.
Nachon? It says it.
That's my case.
Okay, good. Okay, just making sure. You got to call up the rabbi sometime. You got to, you got to make sure. But now, hold on. There's more. Okay, listen. There was a famine in the land. How is it right now? We're back to page 57, chapter 12, verse number 10. There was a famine in the land. What type of famine was in the land?
A food famine or a rain famine. Was it the lack of rain and
Wait
food
a
or
minute,
just
let's
rain?
read it.
Famine
Or
of
just food.
spirituality.
There was a famine in the land.
Spirituality.
It doesn't
But there
say.
was, in Egypt, there was some famine of spirituality.
And food. But thank
There was a famine in the land.
There was no...
What does that mean, a famine in the land?
To me, it means no food,
No water.
no water,
Okay, now why is there no food?
because there was no rain.
Because there was no rain. Why was there no rain?
Because
God
there was
stopped
no
the rain.
good deeds.
Because
Beiten
People
matav
were
beito,
wicked.
if...
no,
Broken the law.
no. Why was there no rain?
No one prays for
Because
rain.
Abraham
chose that.
was not praying, he was only teaching.
Ooh, please don't say anything bad about Avram. Not in this week's parsha. You're gonna have to join Daron in put you in Facebook jail for speaking like that. That's really fake news.
Fake news.
Okay, right?
I love
Okay,
that term.
right? Okay, you got it? Right? Why was there no rain?
Why was there no rain?
But God promised him.
God promised you're gonna become wealthy. So why was there no rain?
But he promised the
Another
land
test.
and the
Because it was a
rain.
test.
Oh, very good. There was no rain because there was no test. Brilliant.
No what?
Because it was a test.
Yeah,
It was a test.
A test, Abraham. Some people might think it was a punishment. Other people say no, it wasn't a punishment. Right? It was a test.
But the other tests are a little bit more profound, like going into the
Go,
fire.
hold on. What do you
Not
mean?
getting burned. That's
Actually,
amazing.
I want to let you know,
How
my
many
dear.
people go through a fire?
No, my dear. The tests
I would burn.
got. Yeah, me
I
too.
would burn.
The tests get harder as they go along.
Right.
But let me tell you, going into the fire is only test number 2.
I know. But
This is
how
test
about the
number 4.
I know, but how about
Which means, if this is test number 4, what's harder, test number 4 or test number 2?
Test number 4.
Well, test number 2 going into the fire, I would think.
Except, I'm telling you that that's test number 2 and this test number 4.
I know.
So which test is harder?
Well, the
So
other-
change
the other
your
one-
statement. Change your statement.
The other one
You're wrong.
involves more than one person. It involves many.
Hold on, no. So you ask a question, it would seem, and I agree with you, at first glance it would seem that going into a fire would be more severe,
Right.
than having to leave the land of Israel
Yeah.
to go to another place.
All right, so
But let me tell you why it's not.
Okay.
The test here wasn't a simple test. Are you going to stay in the land of Israel? You're going to go down to Egypt.
right.
That wasn't the test.
Do you trust me?
Not trust me. No. Are you going to kvetch when you have to leave?
Yeah.
Are you
And not kvetching is harder than being thrown into a fiery furnace.
Yeah.
Let me
I
repeat
agree.
that.
Yeah, not
Okay, the test here wasn't whether you're going to leave or not leave. The test here was are you going to kvetch or not.
I get it.
You should have kvetched.
And no, they would have failed the test.
To leave Eretz Israel, you
Then-
should kvetch.
then-
when you leave Eretz Israel.
I have
Then-
a great slogan. Winners train, losers complain. When I hear Jewish people complaining about the food
All right.
at the Jewish community center,
Okay, now.
I want to throw up.
Okay, so hold
What
on.
right have they got to
So
complain
listen what we
about?
got here. Very simple. Listen to this.
I'm serious.
So now,
I'm serious.
Rabbi, can you turn the heat up, please?
the heat up? It's 74 degrees in
It's a
here.
joke.
75 degrees. Alrighty, so hold on. So, like this,
That's okay.
the famine in the land. Why was there famine in the land of Israel? There's no, right to the test. There was no rain.
Right.
So let me ask you a question. So why was there rain in Egypt?
Why was it what? Rain?
Why was there rain in Egypt?
Well, Egypt doesn't need rain. It has the river.
Oh.
It has the Nile River.
Oh, so very interesting.
Yeah.
So Egypt is a land. So when there was no rain in the land of Israel, Abraham knew all he had to do was to go down to Egypt.
Right.
Since Egypt has the Nile River flowing through it,
Right.
so therefore it does not need,
Rain.
right? Therefore it does not need
It
rain,
was lush because
and
of
therefore
the
it's
Nile.
lush because of the Nile River, and therefore
Right.
all the times there were famines in the land of Israel,
Right.
in the land of Egypt, right? In the land of Egypt, right? In the land of Egypt, there was plenty of rain. Now, I'm going to show you something amazing. Why did God make the land of Israel not have any natural water?
And not having natural what?
Natural water.
Test.
But it had the Jordan.
Test
It
the
has
Lech
correct.
is
So,
on.
so it has the
It's
Jordan, right? It has the
irrigated.
Jordan, which is on the east side of Israel. So on the east side of Israel, right, they had fresh water. Okay, but why? Why does God make it that the land of Israel not have like a Nile River flowing through it? Or better yet, and let me add to this question: how did God manage to put all the countries around Israel loaded with oil, and forgot to put a spigot in the land of Israel?
Until we
Rabbi,
Right,
I have
right,
the answer.
right.
He has a reason.
Yeah.
Gas, not oil.
Yeah, right, no,
Because
right.
the land of Israel is dependent on rain.
Yeah.
It's dependent on God.
Ah, so very good.
See?
Good.
Very good.
I learned from
All right.
last year.
Awesome. Okay. Okay.
And you remember.
What you
Right,
do.
right. So the answer is like this. There was a famine in the land. The land of Israel is constructed that it cannot put its faith in anybody or anything else, only in God. That's how the land of Israel is constructed.
And
The
they'll
only
make some of the
ones in
finest
who we trust.
technology anywhere in the world.
Right? In God we trust.
Right.
Everyone else pays in shekels. Okay. Right? Right? Do you understand? So there was a
Yeah.
famine in the land. Why was there famine in the land? Because God shut off the rain.
Right.
Right? Why did God make Israel dependent on the rain? Is so that we will know that we need to turn to God to ask Him to make it rain.
Right.
Now let me just transpose that. So wherever we live, whatever we do, we have to understand that God is the one who is in charge of how much money we make or how much money we don't make.
Right.
Right? And we have to put our hishtadlus, we have to put our effort in and putting our effort in is what we are responsible to do,
Right.
everything else comes from God.
And the rabbi get an amen. Everybody say amen.
Right, and that's right. And so there was a famine in the land, first famine in the world. Why? Because it was a test to Abraham.
So if somebody doesn't make money because Hashem decrees so,
Right.
does it mean that this person doesn't have to try to improve?
No. He has to try.
Keep trying.
He put his effort.
But is it futile?
But when he comes home and his wife says, "Were you successful today?"
Yeah.
You know what he has to say to her?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I put my effort in. I'm successful. Whether we get money or not, that's from
So
God.
it's a futile exercise.
Not a futile exercise. That's your job. Your job is to try.
Yeah.
You don't decide how much money you make. God decides how much money you make. So your job is
Make the effort.
to make the effort.
And to have faith.
And to, no, I don't like the word
Well,
faith. I like the
think
word
that goes
trust in
without
God.
saying. It's
Trust in
trust.
God.
Right?
Faith
Trust in
is
God.
trust,
So that
yes.
you do and the God will help.
Correct.
Right.
Now, again, God will help. You get what you should get. You're not going to get anything more than you're supposed to get or anything less than you're supposed to get.
But you shouldn't just sit and wait.
You're not allowed to sit and wait. You have to put in your effort. And if you don't put in your effort, that's considered.
And
That's
the one who has
Slow.
make a lot of money also tries.
no. Same thing. Same
And
thing.
Rabbi, what about the efforts of
That's
praying?
considered.
And the
what?
effort. So
If
effort.
you don't
So
make
the efforts.
What is
Effort.
that considered if you don't make the effort?
If you don't make the efforts.
Yeah.
If you don't make the effort, so then you haven't done your job,
You're a sloth.
right? right. You haven't done your effort. You have to put in your effort.
So regardless,
You have to put your effort. That's what you got to do, right? We have to put our effort in.
you cannot outsmart your destiny, but you got.
Right? You got to do what you got to do because that's what God says you got to do. Yes.
Also, wasn't Abraham's journey down to Egypt a foretelling of Jacob's journey to Egypt?
Yes. Okay. Right. Okay. So now, okay. Besides that, okay, there's the whole book of Genesis
Yeah.
is what's called Maisa Avos Simon Labanim. What happened to the patriarchs is a sign to their children. Okay, meaning that the whole book of Genesis, whatever happened to the patriarchs, matriarchs, is a foreshadowing of what will happen to their children. Okay, right? That's our job, right? Is to go ahead and to right, and to learn from there, right? Abraham had to go down to Egypt, right? So he had to go down to Egypt, right? So he went ahead. So the Jewish people had to go down to Egypt, right? Right? They took his wife, right? And what happened to the Jewish people when they got to Egypt? They were enslaved. Same thing. What happened when Sarah left? They got all the wealth. What happened when the Jewish people left? They took all the wealth with them, right? So it's actually.
Was Sarah enslaved?
Well, she was sure she was in prison. She was in prison in
For
Pharaoh's
how long?
house.
For how long?
Well, we're going to get to that. I don't want to ruin the story. Kill the suspense.
She was very beautiful.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Is it because of this verse that we have the holiday of Sukkah? And if the answer is no,
That what?
if the answer is no, why didn't Abraham just get a lulav and do this and do that to create the rain himself?
No. The holiday of Sukkot is when we get judged on rain. But this was a test. God made it that it wasn't going to
This is
rain.
why we do this, to get rain.
Yeah, and we asked it to prayer. We shake the lulav as a prayer to God.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, one more thing I wanted to. I'm sorry, this was backed up for 1 second. In verse number 8. Go back to verse number 8. Deron, you want to just read it for a second for us? Verse number 8.
Wait.
Yeah.
From there, he relocated to the mountain east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And he built there an altar to Hashem and invoked Hashem by name. Then Abraham journeyed on, journeying steadily toward the south.
Okay, great. So it says, so from there he relocated to the mountains east of Bethel, and he pitched his tent. How do you write, and he pitched his tent? How do you read that in Hebrew? Write that in Hebrew?
Well, wasn't that
But
his
yet-
profession, tent making?
Ohalo.
Is that what he did for a living? Who?
No.
He didn't do that for a living?
No, everyone pitched tents in those days.
No, I thought he was a tent maker.
No.
Vayet Ohalo. Ohalo.
No, we got the homeless pitching tents.
how would you say Vayet Ahalo?
With a hey at the end.
No.
Did he have a
No,
No,
profession?
the way it's written here.
Ah,
Did
but if
he
you
have
take
a
a look,
profession?
if you take a look in the Torah,
Yeah.
I know the reason.
right? He was a Kiruv rabbi.
He was a
When
what?
he was a Kiruv rabbi, that was his profession.
He was a rabbi?
I remember
He was a
that.
Kiruv rabbi.
What does that mean?
He's outreach.
2 years ago.
His job was to do outreach. He was hired by God to do outreach. But hold on. So it says he pitched his tent. That's how you read it. If you take a look in the Hebrew, what does it say?
Her tent. It's her tent.
Oh, hello.
Sarah's
No, it's written with a hey at the end. What is it? What is ohala? How do you read it with a hey at the end?
Allah.
Ahala. And what does ahala mean?
Her tent.
Her tent.
Yeah.
So we have a problem here.
It's got a small
Separate
bottom
tent.
about
It's-
We have two
Hello, right? We read it. It's written that he pitched her tent,
Right.
and it's written
He pitched.
that he pitched his tent.
So they lived in separate tents.
So he first did hers and then he did his.
Ah.
Rashi says.
Very good. So why is it written that it pitching her tent
First.
and read as pitching his tent?
Out
Because he
of,
put her before him.
Because he put her
her
Before
respect,
he-
respect
privacy.
that Sarah's
He
tent
honored her.
goes first.
Gentleman.
Right? Abraham was, as we call it, a gentleman.
Yeah.
Right? He went ahead and he pitched his wife's tent
Right.
before he pitched his tent.
Right.
Right? And the Yudim was Avram Moshe. Okay. Right? Okay, right. So over here it says he pitched his tent.
Right.
It's written as her tent because first he pitched his wife's tent.
So she needs privacy too.
Right? Why did they have two tents?
Well, because
Isn't hers?
for the same reason.
Come on, guys. No. Married couples are supposed to live in the same tent.
Yeah, but she
Maybe
was his
because-
sister,
but-
no, meant that?
Because he's going to
Like
tell her
it-
it's his
For
sister.
modesty?
What?
For
He
modesty?
didn't say she was his sister.
It's going
and
to
they
be
had
his sister.
to-
So
No, this is before he goes
Oh,
down
that's
to
even
Egypt.
before.
Yeah,
Okay,
was it
yeah,
for
okay.
modesty?
Give her
Was
privacy.
she,
Give
was
her
she
modesty?
maybe,
Privacy?
So they didn't
Ma'am?
have 10 bedroom tents in those
Right.
days. Okay, right? The
Well,
tents
well,
were a little bit
kidding.
smaller.
It was one open
They were
space.
right.
One open
So
space.
you had different things in different tents.
Yeah.
So what was her tent and what was his tent?
He had
She
an
had the
office. He
kitchen.
needed an office.
She was the
Office and she was in the kitchen.
she was the right. She was in charge of the household, right? And he was busy
Teaching.
teaching Torah. Right. There were different jobs that they have. Right.
So
He had a
his
place to
tent-
teach.
His tent was more public.
His tent was more public.
And his
Exactly.
was more private.
And hers was more private. Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. And that's right. And
So
that's
it's-
That
it's
doesn't
his-
mean they didn't sleep together. because
of course they slept together.
Of course they did.
And that's
but
a husband and wife
they can't
sleep in the
sleep-
same bedroom.
can't
That's
sleep
the
in
They
norm.
slept in Sarah's tent.
What?
They slept in Sarah's tent because that's the private tent.
Right. Correct.
Thank you, Rabbi.
So,
You're welcome.
and his tent was the one that opened
His
on four sides.
With four sides, right? His was a tent where people came in and out of.
Is that where we get the chuppah from? The idea of the
Yes,
chuppah?
ma'am. That is one of the
Our
one of the
families
places.
are always
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Right.
All corners are
All
open
four
for family and
sides.
friends.
Why did Abraham have doors on all four sides of his
Because
house?
he invited everyone.
Because he
Welcome.
didn't want to have people to have to walk an extra 3 steps to get into his tent.
Wow.
He wanted to be able to walk into,
Uh-huh.
right? To be able to come in and walk
Kind
in.
of an open door policy.
Yes, and they'll be
Yeah,
able to
just
walk
to
in.
keep
But
it
not only
quiet.
open door.
Well, yeah.
He did it in a way where you wouldn't. He made it easy for people to come in,
Well, sure.
so they didn't have to walk all the way around.
Well, they felt welcome. Too.
Right? You following? Right? That
They
was
don't have walls.
that
It's
that
kind of
that
like saying
that
all are welcome.
that was what he had to do.
Yeah,
Alrighty, good. So okay, so now there was verse number 10. There was a famine in the land of, right? Okay, go ahead. Who is reading?
I would.
Go ahead, Joyce.
And it occurred.
Start again for verse number 10.
Oh, okay. There was a famine in the land, and Abram descended to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was severe in the land.
What does it mean to sojourn?
Travel.
No. What is sojourn?
To
What
temporarily.
did you say?
stay there.
To stay there
To,
temporarily.
to travel.
Well, it's a temporary place
to live.
to live. Means he wasn't planning,
Okay.
right? He wasn't planning to stay there,
He was gonna be there.
right? Right. He went it on a temporary. He was relocated temporarily, right, to the land of Egypt.
In essence, he went because there was a famine, thinking. the
As soon as famine's over,
back.
we'll go back, right? Because that's what we are. It's only now. It's interesting, right? Because here, and what does it say when the Jewish people went down? When Jacob went down to Egypt,
He sojourned in Egypt.
He sojourned in Egypt. Same exact word. He went lagur sham, right? He went to...
lagur is from... Is it related to the word ger?
Yeah.
Nochri?
Ger v'toshav. The word ger means temporary, toshav means a dweller. Right? So it's right. So its idea is that it's a temporary status, as opposed to a permanent status.
An alien.
What?
An alien.
What do you mean alien?
An alien, like a resident
Non-resident.
alien.
Non-resident. Okay, go ahead. Okay.
Resident alien.
The
And
word
it is
gar,
the-
gar means live, right?
Right, but it means not permanent. It means a temporary dwelling. Okay, it's a temporary dwelling. Okay, go ahead.
And it occurred as he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarah,
Sarai, because she's not Sarah yet. He's Avram, not Abraham. She's Sarai, not Sarah.
okay.
Right? Those name changes are going to come later on. Okay,
So
go
he
ahead.
said to his wife Sarai, "See now, I have known that you are a woman of beautiful appearance, and it shall occur when the Egyptians will see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but you they will let live. Please say that you are my sister, that it may go well with me for your sake, and that I may live on account of you."
He was scared because she was so beautiful.
Okay.
So
Right?
that is something a little bit fishy here, that his approach.
Now what?
He's risking her life or her
No.
fate and what's going to happen with her to save his own life.
Ah! He's throwing his wife under the bus! What's he doing?
It looks that way, but it's not really what's happening.
Well, people could make that mistake, like
A
Deron
lot
did.
of people do.
Yeah.
Well, I'm provoking the conversation.
But it does appear that way.
It does appear that
It
way.
does
Okay,
appear like
so
that.
let's play this out a little bit.
In fact, didn't he
Okay,
sneak her
let's say he said.
in? Didn't he sneak her in?
Hold on. Let's say he said. No, you're my wife.
Right.
Okay. What was going to happen when they were in Egypt?
He could be dead.
There'd be a little road rage accident,
Yeah. And he would
Moses
die.
would get stepped on
and
by-
Abraham would Abraham would get run over by a runaway camel.
Yeah.
Then Sarah would be there all alone.
Right.
The king would help.
Man, the king would help. Right, the king would help her, making her the princess.
Right.
Okay, so that's the way. If he didn't do anything,
Right.
that's what would have happened. Now, would that have been better for Sarah? No.
No.
This way, at least, you tell Sarah, okay, say I'm your brother. This way, they won't kill me. They'll just kind of wine and dine me,
Right.
right? But that way, even if they do take you, I'll be there on the outside to help you,
Right.
to get you out.
Right.
Now, that would have been at least on a simple level.
Right.
But Abraham went even one step further.
Right.
And Abraham says, you're going to tell them that I'm your brother, but you are a married woman, and your husband is not traveling with us.
Oh.
And so therefore, I'm going to give you an even greater protection than saying that I'm married to you. And say, yes, she's married, but her husband stayed back in the land of Israel to guard
Right.
the homestead.
Right.
And this way, then, we'll have the best,
Protect you.
and triple level protection we'll have for you.
Right. Mostly
You hear-
sexually,
you hear- you hear the-
sexually.
So
Yeah.
they won't take her because they can't get a hold of the husband.
Because they
until-
can't kill the husband. And you see, the Egyptians at that
And
time,
So they were the masters of idolatry.
Right.
They would be very sensitive about adultery.
right, why?
Why? Because
And again, they were idolatry, they were murderers, they would kill him.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't do adultery.
Because
Why wouldn't they do adultery?
One of 6 Noahide laws.
Because no, because they were still, remember, the flood wasn't that long ago. And they still remember that God destroyed the world because they were involved in sexual immorality.
right.
So therefore, right, and that
They
they were
weren't having
released.
part of
So
it.
therefore, they were careful about sexual immorality.
Right.
More careful about sexual morality. Murder was
Okay.
was common.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm buying this.
That what?
That explanation.
Oh,
Which
it's
one?
Very real.
I mean, they didn't believe in God.
Sure they did.
They believed in God.
But they
Yeah, okay,
believe
Neil,
in
let me-
Pharaoh
God.
later on said,
No,
"Who is your
no,
God?"
no, 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 no,
God.
no, no. So let me explain to you. Let me explain to you something. They believed in many gods,
Yes.
not one God.
Well, that's
Man.
what-
Okay, right? So therefore, even in their many God situation, right, they still were able to, right? There still was a concept of a higher power that created the world, or
And
right,
also
or whatever.
the
Right? There were
ability for
different,
right
right?
and
There were different gods or whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, it's funny. The Talmud says the only reason there's idolatry was to permit sexual immorality. Now God went ahead and put in sexual immorality in the world. But people do idolatry in order that they can permit themselves form of sexual promiscuity.
The
Right, you
idol
could-
said you could do it.
What?
The
The idol said I could do it. Right? You could imagine if I had to make a movie scene here, and Pharaoh's down there, this most beautiful woman walks through, and what does he say?
The idol
I
said
gotta-
I
The, I, the discussion with this idol. I know she's married, but she really is gorgeous. Idol, what do you think? Oh, I think you should go, right? Yeah. It's around here, we don't recognize their marriages performed in other countries, so she's really not married. We just go ahead, it's fine. Right? You go, oh, my idol said it was okay. Oh, thank God. Okay, right? I mean, right? You know what I'm saying? Like that was how they operated. Right? But they were more careful about sexual morality than they were about murder. So therefore, Abraham says, if I tell them I'm your husband, they're going to kill me.
Right.
Right? So therefore, that ain't going to work.
Right.
So everyone's going to tell them, right, that you're my sister. Okay?
And the plan worked.
Okay. Good.
So, Rabbi,
Yeah.
killing Abraham will do what? Will make the lady without a husband that they may have a right to take her.
Say it again. What?
Killing Abraham.
Yeah.
Exterminate Abraham
Right.
would give them a right to take the woman because she will be without husband.
Yeah, she should be single.
Taking her,
They could
yeah.
justify
Yeah, sure.
it.
Should be single then.
That's a
Yeah.
good strategy, though.
Yeah. Oh, Frank, you gotta sleep with one eye open. Right. Remember that.
No, I'm talking about the.
Right, for the-
the strategy. No, the act is not right, but the strategy was okay.
Right. It was interesting. Okay. We're
Did
gonna.
Abraham know that he was the father of the Jewish people at this point?
Yes,
He knew.
he knew, because when did Avram become the father of the Jewish people?
Well, the
Covenant of the Parts, chapter 15. When does the covenant of the parts happen? How old is Abraham at this point in time? 75. How do we know he's 75?
It says.
Because it says so in the verse. How old was Abraham at the covenant of the parts?
90.
No, it should have been earlier. He said.
It was 70.
It was 70.
70. So the covenant of the parts already had happened 5 years before.
What does it mean by the covenant?
It's not in order.
We'll get to that, chapter
It's out of
15.
order.
It's out of order, yes. Actually, this whole beginning part of Lech is out of
The
order.
father of Jewish people.
What?
I have
He
to
knew
wait
he
till
was the
next
father.
week for you to
So he
put
knew
out
he had to
your
survive.
You said again what?
He knew he had to survive because he's the father of Jewish people.
We passed it.
But when you got to put yourself in dangerous situations, so then it doesn't always, you're putting yourself up to be judged. Maybe he would lose it. Okay, folks, we're gonna stop here. We'll thank you all for coming. See you all same bat time, same bat station. And don't forget the Shabbos project is this weekend. We'd love to go ahead into we'd love to go ahead and to come spend the entire Shabbat and to join us. Thank you.
Are you having the kid?